Generally, when they play well, they play consistently well, especially at tournaments. We've seen it from them. They don't tend to have these roller coaster rides through group stages necessarily. So Empire, I'm expecting to see another good performance from here, but they are, of course, starting on a little bit of a stalwart, a little bit of a bastion for MNM coming in to Oregon. So it's not going to be an easy start for them.
I've been hounded in the last few hours to bring up this stat because it's been dropped away from so far. Looking at Tier 1 lands explicitly, Shepard has got two very key stats. He's the first player to pass over 100 plants in Tier 1 LAN with 103. He's also tied first place for 1vXs with 21 joint with Bosco of SSG. So two big stat lines coming in there for a man that everyone kind of regards and reveres as a fantastic support player, and now it's represented in the numbers as well. The first player to pass 100 in Tier 1 LAN. So let's see what he can deliver today. Thank you very much to Spilosopher and Sprout Bunny for making sure I got those numbers out to everyone today, Tim. They've got to deliver, though. They've got to make it happen. They're starting on the defensive side. Of course, you would make that choice. And looking at the bans, everything is as normal. We said this for the last couple of days. 3 typical bans. The 2 defenders are always going to be one of a select few. You tend to see Thatcher taken away. And the 4th attacker ban, or the 2nd attacker ban, the 4th of all the bunch, is the one where it can get a little bit spicy, and here it's going to be a Ying ban. Definitely focused on the downstairs. Often see it employed for chucking those Candelas down inside a supply, for chucking them through the E-box hatch, and then dropping and making your big play.
Well, you've got that double window as well. We've seen Ying Candelas used to sort of support the push through there a couple of times as well on top floor, on dorms. Just sort of dump them in, one towards kids, one towards main dorms, get a bit of smoke down as well, and try and get in under that cover to get the plant down. As you said, not going to be a problem for Empire to worry about on the defence this time around, nor will it be for MNM when it becomes their turn in the second half. But to kick us off round 1, here we go. MNM versus Team Empire. A little window into the future for MNM here, Des.
Maybe ever so slightly. It's one of them that I'm looking at and seeing a mirror on side for Empire, and I look back to one of their games in EUL when they came up against Heroic. They dominated Heroic, making good use of this mirror, often having one facing up to where you've just seen it inside of E-box and one being placed on the freezer wall. And Heroic were just met with continual resistance, unable to get past them, and it would shut down their attacks more often than not. So much so that I believe Empire have a 100% defensive win rate on this site, coming out of that game at least. We'll see if they can extend it, because they have indeed played in this competition on this map before. It was a win for both teams, so they've got confidence coming into Oregon. Here we are with it being set up. That south side completely locked off, the most go-to common setup that we see with mirrors here in the basement.
That's it. It's going to make it very difficult, and interestingly, I'm pretty sure, if I'm right in saying, Des, we saw MNM try to play into this last time around. And they struggled. They couldn't really deal with all the late rotations over to bunker side of things. They sort of gave up on freezer when they saw that there was the mirror window in there, rather than going and pushing it. They do have the Hibana on side from Neo, so they can take that utility out if they want to, but they will need to take control. They are pushing towards freezer extremely quickly. This is a MNM team that look like they have woken up and they are ready to go. It is straight away, 30 seconds into the map. They were straight at the top of freezer stairs. Joysticks had to turn tail and run, and they are looking to start pressuring that side of the map immediately. Going to open the hatch. That will basically prevent anybody playing anywhere past the lockers inside a freezer. You can't push up any further than that. It may also give them an opportunity to deal with the mirror from there, should they want to.
Yeah, for Empire, no roamers being found out. All of them down on site. For MNM, who have identified that, they are in and moving, and they had this level of pace against Sandbox, generally identifying what had to be done and taking control of large areas of the map very quickly. Where they start to struggle, I felt, was this middle 60 seconds. They weren't very good at getting themselves prepped for an execute, and like Empire will likely do on their attacks, left everything down to the last 15, 20 seconds or so to make a bit of a Hail Mary push. They've had full control of the ground floor. They've got their hatches opened up. Now the big question they've got to be asking themselves is what next, because that is where they've stalled out historically.
Well, that's it. They've got the map control. So what next? What next is that they need to start moving these defenders around. Ideally, you move them by killing them. You put them in the dirt. But if that's not possible, they need to force them away away from pillars. They need to get them back into supply, back into laundry, so that they can start then aggressing, get pillars, get electrical, and look at being in a position to get that diffuser down if they can claim elbow. But the movement needs to start coming from MNM. They're all above meeting at the moment. There's no pressure on these defenders. Always is just going to sit there and hold an angle until they force him to do something.
Look at the utility line. 4 frags, 3 flashes, 2 smokes. They've got so much utility they can dump down these stairs or through the E-box hatch and go for a drop. You banned them a mile away, so you know not all of it's going to get caught out. I want to see them making the move because they're being scared and held back here by Joystick. A nade comes through, won't take him out, but does tickle the sides a little bit, and the rest are looking to go for their drop. They burnt through the laser gate. This will be reading to Empire on what the game plan is, and in comes the drop. Joystick finding the first one as he falls through. Always the second. It's already fallen to tatters for MNM, who couldn't find a man early in the round. They're swinging down to Big Tower Stairs. It's being 1v2. Joystick on one side, always on the other. This is looking like a bit of a shutout round for Empire. Overall, they swing round and get the 4th. We're looking at a flawless round to start things off, Tim. Empire composed, barely bothered by MNM's presence.
That's it. They set themselves up downstairs. It was a perfect turtle defense, essentially. Like you say, they didn't play any roamers, Empire. They were happy to play on site, but MNM just completely and utterly ineffectual on the attack there. I know that sounds harsh, but ultimately, there's MNM, I dare say, if you took a top-down screenshot of the beginning of their defence, they looked exactly the same at the end. And that can't be allowed. You can't have Joystick and Always still at pillars and Shaiko spot.
Exactly.
You just can't. Well, you can, but you're not going to win the round. You're never going to get in there and get it done. And Empire they weren't forced to move at all, and that's one of your number one priorities on attack, is disrupt the defense, because what does the defense do? It sets up what it sees in perfect positions with perfect utility, and you have to force them away from that onto plan B, onto plan C. Empire, they were plan A all the way.
That's a pretty, atypical setup as well. MNM will have come across that in scrims 20,000 times over. They should know how to deal with it. They took the step of getting the Shaiko wall opened up, and I honestly thought we'd start seeing nades being tossed through there to try and clear the player out on Shaiko. And for those who wonder what we mean when we say Shaiko, inside pillar off to the far right-hand side, there is a single doorway that leads in towards the elbow side of things, or blue, or tarp, depending on what you ask for different regions, what they call it. You need to clear the player away from there. They had it opened up by the Hibana. They stopped Joystick from swinging across and spraying off the X-Cairo so the nades could go through. That just didn't happen. They dumped all their nades into highway. That wasn't where a player was. They just kind of ignored the fact there were players playing behind pillar in Shaiko spot, and they paid the price for it. So one to learn of for next time. Here at least we step up onto the top floor.
And MNM, they're going to have to show us something different here. First and foremost, they need to disrupt Empire. They need to find a way to stop them doing what they want to do. Can't let them play their game. Dan, he's set up in Trophy for the time being, so he's looking to hold Neo out of Master. He probably won't hold on to that for too long. I would imagine that utility will be expended to clear that shield out, and that'll be the end of Dan's reign inside a Trophy. He may not even hold on to it for that long. It's just to halt that progress. As I say that, he dips away. That's no major problem from Dan. He's burnt a minute there and just took out a few drops.
I love how much we're seeing of the MK14 coming in on Rooney, by the way. DMR heaven right now. They've only did get a small nerf where the amount of ammo was reduced. So more and more players have stepped across to playing with the DMR. Sure, it's only single fire, but you do get a lot of rounds in that gun. So you're not just spraying most of them to paint someone. We saw the very, very painful 1v1 for Muzi yet the other day against the Iana on Bank. So a good example here of why that DMR is going to be effective.
Always is playing down in security. Ooh. What a beautiful peek from Tyrant there, taking Joystick down at the top of White Stairs. And maybe that's the catalyst that MNM needed, that they were lacking back in round one, is going to be that opening kill. But they definitely need to deal with Always Theirs. We've spoken about this position at length yesterday. Insider security allows you to play the vertical. Oh. Look at that. Tyrant has got some vision on him, able to just spot that pixel of Always his head, and that just solves the problem. They can now push in through double window.
Tell you what, Tim, I could train for 5,000 hours and still not see that pixel. It was unbelievable, and I'm pretty sure on the other side of it, Empire are like, oh, we lost that then. 2 in a row for Tyrant. A third follows. Tubal coming in for Solotov. My God, a double headshot back-to-back on Scyther, and Dan shuts this round down. And Shepard again, joint top for clutches in Tier 1 lands. Something tells me he probably isn't going to shut down 4 members of MNM all by himself. Being pushed up from White. Smokes it out now. Turns towards lower in case someone's pushing in. But no, it was a drone sat just behind him. Swung on the window. Nello down to a slither of HP. They know they've got him penned in. It's an easy closeout. This time round, only losing the 1 member. Remember, an Empire torn asunder on the top floor.
Much, much better from MNM, and you see the difference of what I'm talking about there. If you're a little bit newer to Siege and you're trying to keep up with us as we explain this strategy, round one, you remember that I said MNM were unable to move Empire. All those defenders finished in the position they started, and that was their power positions. This time around, Joystick peaks top of White Stairs, gets taken down. Always really wanted to stay inside of security because he had the ceiling opened up above him, and that allows him an angle onto double window, which is ultimately where Nello's pushed in from with the diffuser more than likely in hand to get it down. As it was, they didn't need to because they got the kills. But by getting those 2 kills, Tyrant changed the shape of the round because the defenders had to move. And as soon as they did, look who was waiting. Solotov on the F2, takes himself 2, nice and easy, much better from MNM. And that's what we mean when we talk about an attack disrupting a defense. It's about taking away their utility and taking away their positions.
And Empire didn't really do anything wrong, right? Top of White Stairs, maybe you'd argue, do you need to challenge that here? Wouldn't you rather play someone on Freezer Stairs, for example? The security player, I think it was Joystick, could have been Scyther. Looking at that angle he was holding, I don't blame him at all. It's a very good angle to hold. It was very tight, and Tyrant still finds the kill. You know, you can't stop that sort of play. It was unbelievable. Here, at least, we step back onto the top floor again. The mirror, this time in tow. Dan setting one up, looking in towards Dining in an attempt to slow down MNM, who, as we saw back in round one, loved to charge in from the west side of the map and swing across. A second one's even going inside a shower. So I like there's a bit of acknowledgement here, again, towards MNM and where they like to start, where the push comes in from, and Empire looking to slow it down early in the round.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we don't always see this much utility expended so far west, as you say, for a Dorm's hold. We have what we will usually see, the rooms in front of you. You've got security there that I was talking about where Always was playing. Thank you very much. And then just above it to the north, you've got where Always is actually playing now, which is Kitchen. And quite often we'll see one in each, but that's usually as far west as the defence will set up. So seeing somebody inside of showers, that's a little bit unusual. And like you say, it's just a nice adaptation from Empire. We'll see if it pays dividends or not, but it's just a way of trying to slow down that MNM push, stopping Tyrant going in and getting 2 openers.
And even if he doesn't, you're opening up to nades from below, which a few pros have commented on Twitter and said, you know, the number of vertical nade kills that we're seeing with the advent of yellow pings, the attacker lean that we're getting, how many nades teams can bring along these days. MNM have got 6, for example, just means you're seeing more and more nade kills than ever before. Don't personally hate it, think it's quite fun to see. Admittedly, when it overtakes a game or a round, it can be a little bit much, but overall, we are seeing vertical play coming more and more into the game. So I don't blame Empire for, one, saying, well, we've got to slow down Tyrant, but 2, we also prevent nade kills coming in from below. MNM going a bit more lateral with them here, chucking them in through windows, trying to clear out utility rather than players, and that will let them start on their march forward. But I go back to what we saw in round 1, Tim. MNM quite stalled out against the clock. We're down to that 90-second mark, and they're only really just starting to get themselves set up. Tyrant's moved across from showers. He's now on Armory Stairs, so a total side switch.
Well, that's the interesting point here. As we said, Empire set up much more in the face of that west side push. MNM read into that, and they push east instead. We'll try and get ourselves into Master. We'll open Closet up. Tyrant can push through Trophy, but it's taken them longer, and they haven't got a kill yet. And that means that Empire are still in those starting positions. So this is going to come down to this final minute, and it's all about who can find those first kills.
There are so many holes in the floor here, and they have no control below. In fact, it's always sat underneath with a shotgun, daring someone to come pressing forwards. So I'm a little bit nervous about this. Even more holes being opened up now. They haven't bothered trying to tackle the issue downstairs below. That's them saying we're going to take it and we'll deal with it. Dan, again, going down to Tyrant, though. A good start for Tyrant. 2 entry kills, make it 3 if you want, including the last round's double, but 2 big entries in the last 2 rounds.
He's going big so far at Invitational 22 is Tyrant, and I'm sure he's impressing a lot of players. Users, Nello, they're going to get 1 apiece, perfectly timed 5v2, and the defense is falling apart. MNM have found the cracks and they've found the way to push in, but Always could potentially come in clutch here. He's underneath. Neo, however, has got inside from Closet and he's able to start putting the diffuser down. Empire have completely given up sight here. They know that that plant is going to be stuck and they're now in a 2v5 retake. This is extremely unlikely as Joystick pushes back up the Armory Stairs. Tyrant will feel he should have won that one, but Joystick comes back on top. You can't always beat him because he's just that good. Can he get himself a second. Not as of yet. Nello finds Always. It's all up to Joystick. Creates a rotate, but it will be his undoing as Nello manages to shut him down with the pistol from the balcony. And that's going to be MNM taking round 3 and finding themselves 2-1 up now.
And in both of these last 2 rounds they've won, Empire have only found 2 kills, and they've come quite late into the round at a time where arguably it's not all that effective. It's not slowing MNM down in the early round, and I've got to give it to MNM. That could have gone wrong very quickly with the whole mirror thing below, right? We commented on Always having all these shotgun angles from below, all the holes that had opened up. They just basically ignored him and planted in a different position. They chose not to challenge the mirror, which is a big risk in itself, but ultimately paid dividends. Really well played, really well considered of what the setup was, and found an answer to them that worked. That was what was missing in round 1. I want to see if they can fix it going into round 4. Because naturally, after 2 rounds of having won the previous site, you can then return back to it. We have tried the top floor twice for Empire. They have failed both, which means the bottom floor is now open once again, and we'll give it a go here in round 4. That mirror making a return.
Yeah, it was an interesting round. We sort of saw both plan Bs coming out there. You know, Empire tried to get further onto the west side, but what they did was leave a hole. And this is the problem with Siege. When you move utility somewhere, you move it from a limited resource pool. And so by doing so, you have to leave something out somewhere. And that hole was in Trophy. And it allowed Tyrant up to the top of Armory Stairs. It allowed Neo into Master and Closet. And that's ultimately where the threat and where the plant came from. So, as you say, MNM's plan B, reading into that defence and saying, yep, we've got another option here. And they took it, they did it well. We're back down to Laundry now, and we've got the Flores on side. And Operator, I know that you're a little bit in love with this. You like a bit of Flores.
I love me a Flores. Yeah, I mean, look at him, what a gorgeous man. But look down the other side of the screen and look at the operators they've brought. Tim, do you see a Mute?
I do not.
Do you see a Mozzie?
I do not.
Do you really see anything that can stop the Flores?
Apart from the guns in the hands of Empire, no, I do not.
Correct answer, Tim. I'll give you a lollipop after the cast. Yes, there is very little that can stop these Flores drones running through except keeping your eyes downward and watching for them raining through. The main reason why MNM have brought this along here is for things like the ADSs, the Banshees. They want to get those cleared out, and the 2 bulletproofs that have been brought along by the side of Empire. I know it's kind of concerning when you've got a team that's a little bit slow anyway, to spend another 30, 40 seconds using the Roteros to clear things out, but they've also got a shield to deal with on the side of the smoke, mind you, so lots they can clear away. Last time round, their nades were ill-positioned, all dedicated towards Highway. They didn't force the players away from Pillar or from Shaiko's spot. That has to be the big change for me in this round, Tim. That, or they need to push in from the south side, which, as we know, can be very rough, should we say, for the attackers, given you're staring down 2 mirror windows.
It's not always the easiest. And I think the thing for me on this, the last attack from MNM, was all the work they did to potentially prep a little bit of freezer, a little bit of laundry, and then they didn't use any of it. They just went to rear stage and bung it. They might as well have started there 2 minutes before and just really piled the pressure on the north side of the site. But this time it looks like they are mounting the challenge there again. They've opened the laundry hatch, they've got the options, but this time they've got the Rotero. That's going to clear out pillars, and if you remember, Des, I kept going on about it at the time. It was how they had not moved Joystick and Empire. For the time being, they still haven't managed that, but they have cleared out the Banshee. That's one part of it at least. They were unfortunate not to get the bulletproof, and the ADS is a little bit further away. If that Rotero drone can survive a jump and get another few feet, maybe it gets all 3. Still work to be done to clear out pillars.
They really want to get rid of that. There we go. I was going to say they really want to get rid of the Banshee, and this time round Shepard not quite quick off the mark to shoot it out. So they've removed 2 Banshees so far. We're down to 45 seconds. Solotov, probably if he wants his last one to come out, I don't think he's got any left actually. No, he's gone through them all. They haven't got rid of everything at this point, but it's a great swing in from Nello. Will find himself traded out. 2 more kills come back in for Empire as Shepard drops the gas, daring them to come charging their way through, and sure enough, one has got the cross, but it's a 2 versus 4. It looks a bit rough once again for MNM, who are unable to win the basement, and this should be a closeout here with 4 left alive for Empire. Make it 3 as Solotov finds one more. He's got 50 seconds to clutch up against 3. The diffuser, cold, dead on the ground in front of his eyes, unable to win this one out. It's going to be round 4 going the way of Empire in just a few short seconds. 25 HP, and as a dream would used to say, sadly that dream is turning into a nightmare as we're going to find the scoreline going to 2-2, Tim.
Easy round for Empire once again down on the bottom floor. Despite MNM's best attempts at adaptation, they're still unable to move Empire consistently away from some of those tricky locations. Joystick particularly dominating down on that bottom floor. They've got to find an answer. They're not going to come against that site again, fortunately for them, here against Empire, unless it goes to overtime. If it does, they've got to find an answer to Joystick on pillars. They've got to get him moved one way or another, or they've got to push Freezer and Laundry and just leave him out in the cold.
There is a certain caster / analyst at this event, Tim, who once coined a line that I love repeating. It's about Mira. It's a demo. He turned around and once said to me, Mira makes bad sites good and makes good size great, or, well, impenetrable was the exact word I believe he used at some point. It was a long time ago. I can't say I always understand what he's saying to me. But in that case, what he was saying was Mira does make things really hard to deal with when you're trying to push into them. And you've seen it there again where MNM are so scared away by the two mirrors on the south side of the ground floor, or the basement, sorry, that they simply don't want to attack into Freezer and Laundry. They'd rather go for a really difficult attack on the north side and get punished for that than try and face off against the mirror. I'd love to see maybe some smokes get brought along here. Smoke off the mirrors and charge your way forwards. Go for what a lot of teams like doing, which is send your Iana down in towards Freezer and have her go for a solo push. You know, it clearly isn't working up on the top side, so one of those they'll have to work on in future, because we aren't going to see the site repeated again now. Empire have also stepped away from the top floor, down into dining and kitchen.
Right, I love this from Empire. This is a dining room hold, and it's something that we don't always see too often. It was popularised by LATAM all the way back when I was casting it back in 2020.
Do you ever shut up about LATAM?
I do not, because they're pioneers, Des. And the showers hold was something that they did extremely well. They'd lock somebody in, as they have done with Joystick. He's got his rotate out behind. There's the mirror there should they lose showers, and he's got the soft wall into small tower, and he's just going to try and hold on to that as much as possible. You'd quite often play it with a maestro. You'd have the Elder there, you'd have the cam for the information into small tower. So it's a little bit of a softer hold than we might expect, but they would just absolutely hold on to that forever if you let them. Joystick's going to try, and it becomes a real point of contention. It's really exciting.
It can be tough to break, because behind that line of hold, they've got a mirror window on the shower's wall, so there's so many angles to sit back in. They've got a shield on towards the window at the bottom of White Stairs. This is a really difficult spot to break, which is arguably why it's being ignored for the most part by MNM. Their focus has been to get Yuzu's inside small tower. He's been there for a good 45 seconds and opening things up, but Scyther gets a collateral on the spray out onto the white window. Neo and Tyrant lining up to give him a 2K. That is not the way they wanted this round to start.
This is quite often what will happen with the showers hold. You've got all this attention on Joystick. Look over here, Des. Look over here. Look at Joystick. Look at Joystick. Scyther, punch, bang, done. Gets himself a double kill. And teams have got to be careful that they don't sort of tunnel vision on clearing those showers out. And it's what's happened a little bit there. And Scyther's taken full advantage of it. Joystick's going to drop himself away now as the Maverick has managed to get in there, open up that wall to at least a usable degree and force him out. But it doesn't matter, because he falls back to step 2, which is playing behind the mirror. Scyther comes down and challenges. He doesn't mind just continually peeking users at that point. It's now 1 versus 5. He can go chasing his kills. It's unlikely that users turns it around from here. Great hold from Empire. Love the understanding of dining. Love the understanding of the showers hold. This one is pretty much done.
He's got to try and find what he can here, users, but this one is pretty much done and dusted. 4 left alive for the side of Empire. Game Pokeball.
Just tie in with him.
He broke free. Throw another one, or just throw an LMG at it, and that also works as well. It's a closeout for Empire with 4 kills in the round. What I think is really worth stressing here is how dominant the rounds have been for both sides when they've won. Round 1, 5 left alive. It was the flawless round for Empire. The next 2, MNM had 4 left alive. The next round, 3 left alive for Empire, and that round, or for MNM, sorry, and in that round, 4 left alive. There are no close rounds. There are no nail-biting 1v1s to see this go all the way through to completion. It's coming down to teams just being really strong and running away with an early advantage.
I've got to give the credit. I mentioned that strat being used in LATAM originally. It was a player called Padrin, if I remember rightly, who was just an absolute demon when he was put in the showers. He'd play behind those lockers and just could not be moved. I can't tell you how many kills I saw him get from there. It'd be either Rucko or Maestro he would play, and he'd just hold on to it for dear life. He was practically immovable. Moving into round 6 then, it's going to be 3-2 for Empire now, and I love what I'm seeing from this one, Des. We're bouncing back and forth at this point. We have having MNM have a little lead at 2-1. We've got Empire coming back now 3-2. There's just no clear favourite here, and it bodes well for the Invitational. It bodes well for EUL next year. I just love how much of a war this one is between the two of them. And it just goes to show Empire are taking dining followed by meeting. It's like they're even having to use the offsites because they can't hold dorms.
They can't. They've been absolutely ramshackled there on the top floor a couple of times, so you just do not want to be going back there. Understandable why the two offsites are being considered more primary. We're getting that Maestro being brought along, not on the site that we're used to seeing it being brought on, admittedly. So let's see where those evil eyes go down, or the bubbles as teams call them. One downstairs here inside of kitchen itself, good for a bit of plant denial. The second one, I'd like to see if he puts it inside of the site itself in meeting, because you can get a large amount of coverage, or if he'll drop it somewhere just outside of site to give a bit of information back and forth.
Underway, 30 seconds. MNM taking their time here, not rushing anything. The drones are going in on the top floor. They're obviously conscious of that hold. It is likely to be in place for Empire, as you say. It's going to be a couple of men up there, I would imagine. We can see that we've got Dan Scyther's going to get quite aggressive on towards that main door. He's going to try and hold that down. But like I say, I imagine the immediate push from MNM is going to be for this top floor control. We can see there's at least two ahead of us there, and we know how important it is. Joystick's going to be holding on to Pit in Attic there. If you wonder what we mean by Pit, it's not one of the compass call-outs, it's the little drop down just outside of Attic where Joystick is playing, because it's a little bit like a pit.
SSG call it pig, which is very confusing when you're trying to alternate between the two, because there is a pig on the wall.
We'll stick with Pit for now.
We'll go with Pit, yeah. I think it's probably a better name. Even though there's an in-game visual for pig, I'll take Pit, no problem.
Dan looking for the peak onto the top of White Stairs there. He's not going to have anybody to hold back for the time being because the push is coming from the east side. Solotov and users established. Neo looking to get in with them. They've got the closet wall open. They haven't really done too much to force Joystick out of position. They haven't put too much pressure on, but he's gone. That is the key fact. Tyrant, however, is going to be found by Joystick because as much as he might have retreated back, he's just retreated to an alternative position where he finds the man trying to push up White Stairs. So it's now all going to be one-sided across this top floor for MNM to try and clear it out, and it's going to be short-handed.
Well, the site's changed, and so have the proceedings, because last time round, Tyrant won that 1v1, pushing onto Joystick at the top of White. Joystick has learnt his lesson and wins it out here. A trade back the other way, this one feeling a little bit spicier as a round as Nello goes down. In fact, I lied, because it's 2 kills for Empire, a 4 versus 2. It's more dominance by the Russian side, a 4 versus 2, and I don't know what Neo and Solotov can do here. Neo hasn't had the best game so far. Solotov at 3-3. Is he feeling a little bit fraggy? Because now's the time to pop off and go big. There's someone watching the hatch. If he goes for a drop here, he's as dead as a donut. Neo's got to push his way down White as well. So a bit of a scramble for MNM here as we get in towards these last 30 seconds.
I love the interplay between Always and Dan there, picking 1 kill up a piece, choosing when to drop back, just attacking from different angles, made it very difficult for anybody moving in there. Neo does find 1 onto Dan. That leaves 3 on the side of Empire, and MNM are in a position now of just trying to push directly towards site, but they are going to be playing into Toxic Babe canisters. 1 of them left, so at least 1 of these avenues can be shut down until the end. Shepard doesn't need to. Shepard uses his SMG and just cuts them both down as they head into security. Just a little bit of afters there. He just sort of holds the trigger as the man moves across, picks him up. Beautiful stuff.
What are afters, Tim?
They are normally dessert, Des.
Are they? I've never heard that saying before.
I know, I educate you. The thing is now, I feel that you could comfortably live in Northern England and probably assimilate yourself quite well.
Do I have to drop the letter H like Fresh does, though?
No.
Because he's from Hull.
Yeah, that's only if you live in Hull.
Hull. The rest of you still use it, right? You got power up there, you know, running water.
We've got all the mod cons.
Really? That's changed.
We've got electricity, we've got running water, we've got all the mod cons up north. But yeah, afters, yeah, would normally mean your dessert. It comes after your meal.
The first time he said that on broadcast, I thought he just lost the plot and was talking a bunch of rubbish, and I had to kind of go, yeah, as in afters, they got more kill afterwards, right? And you were like, no, it's like desserts. And
it's the sort of thing that like your grandparent would say to you. So that's why I say it in the way that I do. Oh, he comes in for a bit of after. He'd be like, oh, do you want a bit of afters? So that's why I use it like that.
Weird people.
I like it. Something sweet to finish the round. And that's exactly what that kill was, Des.
Something sweet, was it?
It was beautiful, to be fair. It was one of them that you love because you just sort of keep your finger down on the trigger for a second extra longer than you need to. A couple of bullets fly out and just catch another one that was running past.
Well, they had two big collaterals in that first half. The one out bottom white and that one through the security door. Nice for Empire. It's always super satisfying. Now we step into the basement, and naturally, with MNM on defense, it's Empire who have got the onus to fix the errors that MNM couldn't. Back in the first half, if you recall, they did bring along a Flores and still couldn't quite crack the egg that was his defense on the downstairs. They've got 6 frag grenades on side, 6 flashes to burn through the ADSs coming out of Neo. Let's see how they deal with this setup, because there are 2 shields to go through. There's a bulletproof camera. There's all the usual suspects of things like the mute jammers, the ADSs. MNM couldn't crack it. Will Empire?
I'm a little bit worried for MNM here.
You got a feeling?
I think Empire are going to show them how to attack onto the basement here. I don't think they're going to have the sort of freedom that Empire did, to be honest. I don't think they're going to get away with sort of having 2 players still at Pillars and Shaiko at the end of the round, for example, which, you know, if you're trying a bunker push, really shouldn't be happening. I think that they are going to get pushed around a little bit more. I can see Neo having a tough time of it here at rear stage. For the time being, Empire are still in the droning phase. They're actually all stacked up mostly towards the freezer and laundry side at the minute. They're coming in from the west. Tyrant's going to be there to potentially hold them off. Shepard's looking to come in through main entrance. So it looks like it may be more sort of freezer and laundry. I think wherever Empire choose to attack here, they're going to do it with gusto, and I think they're going to make MNM's life much more difficult. Tyrant tries to take the peak off the back of the Ella mine, but he's not too confident in it, Des, and he dips away there. The shots were already coming in from Joystick. It's not a challenge you want to be making.
No, Joystick was hard holding, and already with him trying to push down Freezer, you're seeing the difference. They've got that confidence to go pushing into the mirrors on the downstairs. By the looks of it, a south side take is going to be the play. That's where everyone is currently stationed for Empire. They've acknowledged north side is a little bit tough and feel they can do better on the south. They could rotate over. There is still one man pushing down those north stairs. It's what we often call the LATAM take, Tim, where you've got 3 different angles being used at once to overwhelm the defenders.
Now who's going on about LATAM?
Shut up. It's a one-off, all right? One-off.
It won't be. Neo peeking onto the rear stage. He knows that somebody's up there, but there's not much of a challenge to be made at the minute. But as you say, Des, it's going to be an interesting one because it's a direct contrast. Where MNM dropped away from this utility and tried to attack rear, Empire are more willing to play into it. It's not to say that it's going to be any more successful. It may well be that MNM still hold on here, but it's going to be fascinating to see if Empire can do this. Dan, he finds the key and unlocks the defense. He takes Tyrant down with a headshot to open things up. 5 versus 4, advantage Empire.
Looking here on the south side, it's starting out well. Nade starting to rain in towards Highway and Cubby just to burn through shields, utility, you name it. But a great swing in from Nello. Finds 1, finds 2 for the support player that has been pretty quiet some maps, but that is a way to make yourself heard on the defensive half. Joystick stepping into his grave, picking up the diffuser here and looking to navigate his way forwards. But they've got 2 or 3 angles. They've got 10 seconds to play against here, Tim. They've been mown down as Nello finds a 4K. Yuzus gets the close and steals the ace, but it's a big round for the boys of MNM.
Good hold from MNM there. As I said, it was interesting to see Empire try that alternative, try the freezer laundry. Let's not play into rear stage. Ultimately, rear stage was the only place they got a kill from, with Dan managing to pick one up from stairs. But Nello, what a play from him. I've said it before, Des, you know what I'm going to say again. A great sight player. One of the best in the game. He knows his angles. He knows where that push is coming from. And he manages to step out at the right time. It was a bold move, but it was needed because Empire was starting to get that beachhead inside a laundry. They were ready to push on forward and challenge him, so he took it on his own terms and he took both of them down. Well played, Nello. Good round, MNM. They're back in this one.
Well, as it stands, basement is still the preferable site. Both teams now 3 for 3. Not individually, but total on that basement site. Can't imagine we will see MNM steering across to any of the site when that is available in a couple of rounds' time. But for now, at least we go up to the top floor. And if we think back, Tim, this is where MNM found their 2-round wins on the attack. If Empire follow suit, get a round win here, things get real spicy, because then MNM will have to start looking to the off-sites as well and think about how they can make those work.
Given what we saw from MNM the other day, I'm sort of quietly confident for them here. If you remember, Tyrant and Solitaire particularly, when they were on this top floor site, they were just like a nuisance. They were able to just really sort of keep themselves, out of it and just disappear into the basement. They were all all over the place, and it was very, very difficult for Sandbox to actually keep a track on them. And if Empire don't learn that lesson, don't shut down any roam game that MNM play with, it could be trouble for them. But at the minute, I think MNM are kind of quiet on that front. Tyrant is just roaming himself around the rear stage area, but other than that, mostly on site.
It's kind of hard when Nello's soaking all the kills, right? 10 and 4. If I tune into this, I'd be saying you've got the player names the wrong way around because he's not normally the one that's popping off big time. Now 4K in the last round, sure, helping him out an absolute ton. But let's keep an eye on Solotov, by the way. He's playing downstairs with Tyrant. So 2 below, just like Empire have, mind you, looking to hold down Kitchen so nades can't come singing in from below. That said, Tyrant's actually in freezer. I looked down at the top down and saw the wrong one. He's in the freezer and could come up being absolute rat as this round goes by.
This is it. You know, this is what I suggested coming in. Tyrant Solotov made a real nuisance of himself earlier. I feel like Nello gives himself a little bit easily there. Shepard on the upside down rappel. Very easy kill for him to pick up.
What an angle.
Just doubles down and finds the late trade onto Shepard there as he tries to go over the balcony. Catches him in that animation. Tyrant, you're a little bit out of things here, but that's not the end of the world yet. 1:30 left to go. He needs to time this right, and the interesting question is going to be, do Empire know where he is?
Small oversight by Empire to not have control of the kid's window. Normally you'll play someone on there because you can control the white stairs and stop that angle that was just played by Yuzus. If you ever now see that left-hand wall inside a game like opened up, now you know why. It's because you can play those cheekier, longer angles that just catch someone on their vault onto the balcony. Now Yuzus getting this wall electrified up so they can't open it back up, and Dan gets swung on by Tyrant. The rat has struck and found his prey.
Don't say that I didn't warn you, Empire, to keep an eye on where Tyrant was. He's timed that beautifully, and he's got his kill. Advantage MNM, and the big problem is that Tyrant problem is still not solved. He's got his kill, but the damage may not be over. There may be more pain to come from the Jaeger when he pops up from his next location. Empire, with only 3 men, are going to struggle to hold on to all of those flanks. For the time being, they're focusing towards site. They're clearing utility and looking to get in there, but no Scyther. He's had to dip away. He's had to rotate to try and flush this Jaeger out.
A look at this angle again being held. The swing from Solotov. It's all too easy. Traded out by a joystick straight after. Scyther another. It's gone down from being an MNM advantage with the clock working against Empire to now suddenly being a 2 versus 2. Out comes a C4 from Yuzus. Well placed and wins the next onto joystick. We're all square, Tim, at 4. Except that you may well get flanked, and that's where things like flank drones for dead players to watch, for example, really come in handy. Tyrant was holding in showers the vast majority of the round, aware someone would push white at some point. And yes, he lost out, but again, it's another thing for Empire to worry about.
It's another thing to worry about, and even if you do lose that gunfight, it's still time burnt. It's still time burnt for somebody to come and deal with it. So, third choice site going to come in for MNM now after they've had 2 successful defenses, and we have got a game on our hands, Des. It's 4-4 now, round 9, absolutely neck and neck. It's been back and forth between these 2 teams. They've both had their moments, they've both had the lead, and they are both fighting for this.
That last round was the closest we've had. I said earlier on, look how many members are left alive throughout the rounds for the winning team. 5, 4, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 2. 2 is the lowest one we've seen so far. So it hasn't... That last round was again the closest because it came down to a 2v2. And a cynical person might say Yuzu should have lost the second of those 2 gunfights that he took in the 2 versus 2. Would have forced us into a 1 versus 1 and bring us into a very close round. But as it stands, no, we haven't seen those big clutch rounds that we've gotten used to seeing from other teams in the competition so far. So Empire got to put their ideas up and find something special coming into this round. Starting things off, they must be aware that someone's in big tower because they're all staring up there. It's Tyrant. Call him Tyrat if you want. He's been doing this all game long on the defensive side so far. If he can find someone in a real cheeky manner here, again, Empire, they're making that conscious choice to not deal with him, but he can strike big and really shut things down.
But that's the problem. You make the choice not to deal with him, but then he just becomes a problem in the back of your mind because you know he's there. So, you know, it's always difficult leaving roamers out in the cold like that because all he's doing here is burning time. There's a conversation going on. What do we do with him? Are we pushing him? Are we not pushing him? If we're not pushing him, we've got to watch this angle, that angle. We've got to be aware of him. And it's all just burning time and focus. Tyrant is going to drop himself away, but that's a minute done. He's going to get himself into attic and he might just find himself coming face to face with Dan here. He's joined the forces on that top floor hold, and Empire have decided to push quite directly towards it for the time being, but we're coming up to nearly the halfway mark and MNM is still pretty comfortably established on that top floor.
Yeah, Scyther hasn't been able to get started with the Flores Rotero drones yet either because there's been so many jammers along the way. You just look everywhere and there's jammed up drones. You know, it's infuriating because you want to be able to get through and get this information, remove ADSs, delete away bulletproof cameras. You can see 2 members of MNM rotating between them now. They've got 2 on side, but now the first one comes out. We're halfway through the round and they've only just started on the utility clear. That's going to be a little bit frustrating. Doesn't stop though. Joystick finding the first kill as he comes through into security, negating the mute jammer and everything else that was set up inside there.
That's going to be Nello out of action. Joystick looking to support Scyther on the push in towards Kitchen, and Scyther does have the diffuser in hand. He's going to get one. Shepard doubles down onto Tyrant, and that's the top floor dealt with. There's Tyrant and Solotov gone. Usus all alone. He can be held at bay now. Neo is back in meeting, and there's got to be an opportunity here for Empire to push forward and get this diffuser down. Shepard has it in hand, and he just needs to make that move. Usus, he's slipping across the top floor. He knows that somebody's up here with him. Is he going to find his man? It's a freebie onto Scyther, finds him on his drone and takes him down, but Shepard, he's moving inside of sight. It's going to be difficult if they don't know exactly where the diffuser's going down for users to find this. He's in the wrong location at the minute. Neo's not in a position to challenge, and Shepard is indeed going to start the plant. Can users find it? It's not going to be an easy angle. He sees the toes, but too late, Des. And that was smart play from Shepard, going to the one location that has got the solid ceiling above him.
Has found himself going down to Usus upstairs, but it's a long way back for these last 2 members of MNM. You've got to bring down Dan, Joystick, and Always, and one of them at least is outside the building. Neo on the push through is going to find himself 1. Now they've got to find the next 2. The 2 members regrouping here, ready to play for a trade. Always on a long rotate off towards shower side here. Going to join back up inside of dining and have the long angle onto this diffuser. Dan is going to collect 1 more, so it's a 2 versus 1. Always with the shutdown, showing the value in those long flanks, and Empire find their first attacking round.
Empire clearing, or very nearly clearing the top floor without loss. Obviously, Usus was left up there, but ineffective towards the end. That was pretty much round. When they've done that without losing a man and also got security as well, you really do have to expect them to win it at that point. I think MNM just need to be a little bit more alert to the potential for that quick push coming in from somebody like Joystick onto Nello in security, where he's just going to go in and mow you down. They've got to be ready for that.
Really good play, and it keeps things tight. We often have a word that we associate with our casting, Tim. Begins with O and ends in E. Do you know what that word is? It's like playing Hangman. There's 8 letters.
No.
It's overtime, Tim. It could well be on the way. If we have
just
another...
to make you say it, Des.
I know you did. If we have another 3-site rotation to go through and it repeats itself again with Empire winning the off-site, MNM winning basement and top floor, we will find ourselves going into overtime. For those who aren't 100% sure of exactly what that means 3 more rounds will be played, in which I imagine MNM will start on the defense, because when you pick the map, which MNM did, as you can see, indicated at the top corner of your screen up in the right, you don't choose which side you start on, the other side do. Empire picked to start on defense, so you as the team that picked it get to pick what side you will start on in overtime. This is one of those maps where if you have the choice, you are always going to be starting on the defense. So we'll look forward to that if we can get through these 3 rounds at 6-6. For now, MNM return down to the basement. We saw Empire try and make a south side push work, coming in through Freezer and through Laundry. They ignored the top side, where MNM put the focus in both of their attacking rounds onto this site. They've got to make it work a little bit better, because last time Nello popped off and collected that 4K.
That's it. It was all about Nello stepping out in the middle of sight and just really shutting that push down. Empire showing that they're a lot more willing to play into utility than maybe MNM were, but so far, neither strategy proving successful. MNM, of course, unable to clear out the rear side of sight. The pillars area was their sticking point. So we'll see if Empire decide to do anything differently. At the minute, Joystick is once again moving in quickly towards those freezer stairs, just as he did last time. Scyther's in above him to try and support as well. And it looks like with the Gemini decoy going down underneath, it is going to be time for Empire to try and push down there and get some ground established. There's nobody playing on the mirror window into Freezer at the minute, so not the end of the world, but this is quite a clever mirror window from users. It can be played onto Laundry, but you can also get an angle where you look through the other mirror and into Freezer, so you can watch it to a degree.
That came down really late as well. I think they were waiting to see where Empire were going to come from, potentially expecting a north side push after the last one failed on the south, but after seeing the Gemini decoy come down, knowing they're working on getting this hatch opened up, they've now changed things over to move up. We saw this yesterday, you and I did, I think, where they almost got the hatch open inside of security, but then bailed on it and moved up north. And I'm not.
I think it's just about. I think you don't need it open. They're opening enough for the top so that they can get an angle down to the mirror. To the mirror window, to the left-hand side of it, particularly if they need to make a challenge. But it's also enough to stop anybody moving from underneath lockers, because it's just a death wish if you're going to do that with that half of the hatch open. So I think it's
true.
It's just
you never drop that hatch.
No, you're not going to drop it. You don't need it open, so you can save, save the fuel for the blowtorch. You just don't need it completely open.
But I do need it. What's that from? I can't remember what it is. I have to remember that because that's a joke in my mind that I'm now going to have to try and dig out of the depths from somewhere. However, let's see how Empire are shaping up. They've got the E-box hatch open. Neo identifying he was spotted out by a drone and makes the right call. Move, my friend, because a nade was following him in. Coming up now onto the steps, trying to go for a challenge. Back in towards the Shyko spot and has got a player. It's Tyrant at the top of Highway to give some support. Smokes are being expended on towards Blue to try and stop the push coming in, but Joystick has dropped inside. Do they know? Yes, they do. Doesn't stop him finding a kill. It's an instant trade. 1-for-1 as C4 comes in. Lucky not to find a second as everything goes mental. It's a 3 versus 1. Always is left all alone with 20 seconds to play. This looks like an MNM round, Tim.
Certainly does. Still nobody inside of this game able to consistently clear out those 2 rear-sided spots. This time it was Neo and Tyrant playing in and around Electrical, in and around Pillars. Joystick took the drop. Shepard died. Joystick found 1, but then was cut down. There's just nobody that has been able to consistently move players out of that area. That's what you're looking for on a side-sided push. You want to get in there, clear out that. You want to be stood in Pillars as an attacker so that you can establish an Electrical and plant just inside of the door, and they just haven't been able to do it yet. Beautiful nitro from Users. What a game we're seeing. What a war. This is coming in. We're guaranteed 12 rounds of regulation now. It's going to go that distance at least. Unless one of these teams can grab both rounds, we will see that overtime.
That basement site is a bastion, is really the only way I can describe it. Both teams just showing how to defend it with confidence. In every single round we've seen it, there have been at least 3 players left alive. It hasn't even really come close. The attacking team being starved on time. Again, you understand why MNM would go back there given the first opportunity. Where things get a little more hazy is when we step into these other sites. Top floor, we've seen an attacker win once. We've seen defender losing twice. Sorry, the other way around. Attackers winning twice, defenders winning once. It was MNM last time around we played this site. If history repeats itself, they will do so again. It's then on Empire to win the off-site, which they have also done before. So we're seeing a repeat of that last 3-site rotation potentially here, Tim, that would take us through to overtime.
Empire need to deal with the roamers better than they did last time around. They got hurt by the players that were underneath. Solotov and Tyrant both able to find themselves kills inside of the round. So I would expect this time to see a thorough full map drone coming in from Empire to try and close down exactly where those slippery players are and to go in en masse. 2 or 3, go and find them, get them cut down, get yourselves an advantage before you push towards site. But we will see if that's the choice that Empire takes.
They've already started in Big Tower. That's where Tyrant was ratting about last time, and they've just said, right, get Big Tower control and sweep our way across. The thing it suggests to me there is they're going to be looking to get slammed out the window is apparently the answer. Yeah, it's textbook that you watch that window as well. And look, even if you watch in the window, it doesn't guarantee you'll hit the shot. In this case, he's found Dan. That loses 2 nades for the side of Empire. The sledge is gone. They're not attacking downstairs, so it's not the biggest loss in the world, but it's going to sting. A gas canister coming out inside of walk-in wardrobe, by the way. No one's pushing there for Empire, so a bit of a waste coming in from MNM.
Interestingly now, the loss of Dan is going to make things more difficult for Empire on that roam clear as well. Tyrant is now essentially, Des, a free man. It's 4v4 everywhere else in the map, and Tyrant can do whatever he wants at this point. He can just keep roaming, he can be in the basement, he can move up onto either side of the map, and Empire have got less resources to be able to shut him down in doing so. I think Tyrant's going to cause them another headache here. Joystick for the time being, he's pushing in, Des. I love this aggression though. He's going after his man, he sees him, he shoots him, but he can't find the kill through the soft wall. Neo absolutely getting away with one there, but MNM, they've had to give up control of Attic.
It's like watching The Matrix. The man's dodging bullets for days and keeps himself alive on about 15 HP. Solotov looking for a swing towards Armory. A couple of blind shots, hoping for the best. Scyther's got him behind him now. Can Solotov win the swing? No, he pulls back into sight. 2 members of MNM going pretty dangerously low, but doing quite a lot of damage with it.
Shepard this time is on Kidstorm's window. It was a problem they had last time. Usus was able to find kills. He's able to find them again as he takes a headshot onto Always there. This is falling apart for Empire, and it looks like they might find themselves in a position of having to win the last round if they want to continue on with this map. Either has trophy control. He's just looking to try and get rid of some utility, get that diffuser case in hand and give them at least an option. But Solotov, he's going to find a kill onto Joystick, and right now this is all MNM. Shepard does what he can. He finds one from the Kidstorm's window. That's going to be Solotov taken down. But now MNM with 15 seconds left to go. They're happy to hold angles. They're happy to find kills. Tyrant uses 1, 2, done. And that's going to be Empire on the back foot now as Empire are facing map point from MNM.
You would expect it coming into the map, given it is MNM's map pick. It's their home, it's their bread and butter, and it's far away from being the favourite map for Team Empire. Again, I'm slightly worried about what happens when we get into map 2. Coastline could be where MNM meet their maker a little, but they're putting on a great show. This is an entirely transformed team from what we saw coming up against NIP. We even said coming into that game, 2-0 against Sandbox. They look fantastic. The opening 60 seconds in a round, fantastic. Drone work on point. Speed on point. Everything was there. Against NIP, we just did not see that team show up. But today, although it's come close in a good number of rounds, or in terms of the overall map, I guess rounds themselves haven't been close, it's still been a much different team to what we saw yesterday. I'm glad to see them back in form for that at least. Here we go then. Round 12, potentially our last here on Oregon. Meeting and Kitchen, where MNM will set up their last bastion of defense, and Empire have got a tough job before them. This is the one they've got to crack wide open. They won the offsite last time. They've got to repeat it here, Tim.
Last time around, Joystick was able to aggro pretty much into security unchecked. He got the kill onto Nello, and it just really allowed Empire in underneath MNM. At the same time, the top floor clearance was very solid. They were able to get 2, and it just basically swamped the UK team. There was just nothing they could do at that point, given that they only had users above. Shepard picked a smart plant spot.
Try and try that one more time.
Plant spot.
There we go.
Underneath Attic, where he knew that he had concrete above his head, and there was nothing. Users just couldn't really find the angle in the 7 seconds that he needed to, with the sort of punches from Aruni to try and open the floor up. So this time, MNM, they've got to keep better control, Des. They can't lose all those gunfights on the top floor. That was the pivotal moment for losing this one last time around. If they want a different outcome, they've got to hold on better here, as Dan starts the clearance for Empire.
Looking back at what I've said about this game and how dominant it's been to the team that has won a round, it speaks volumes towards the trade play coming in from both sides. We're not seeing an awful lot of it, to be honest with you. That last round, essentially, okay, outside of the air quote spawn peak out the window, the other 2 kills were the separate 1v1s that Empire lost until the final 2 members then had to push in playing for trades off each other. It was never going to go well against 5 members of MNM, unfortunately. I would like to see more of that team-based play coming out of both, If someone is going to give their life away in a gunfight, have someone that can refrag. That is what you're looking for, and it has been missing for both teams.
Utility raining in from Empire here just to try and counter the defensive utility that we see ahead of them. They've got the bulletproof camera, ADS, mute jammer. They've got all sorts to try and play into, as well as those Aruni laser gates. They're going to deal with some of that. Explosives raining over into Attic, so things getting a little bit more dicey for Tyrant because this wall is about to be opened. You'll likely see him drop away from Attic now. He's not really going to want any further part in that. He's going to leave Solotov and users to hold that top floor. This has been better from MNM, so far, Des. They've managed to not lose anybody. They've still got security. They've got top floor being played out. It's not terrible.
They are being penned in, though, by Empire step by step. Joystick on the classic Iana solo play, so often what we're used to seeing because of the nades, the Gon 6, the Gemini for essentially unlimited drones, of course, with limits on how often you can use it after a recharge. But just little things like that, they're starting to slowly pen MNM back into sight, which is really where they want them, because then these grenades can start singing in. They can start looking at picking members off from above. So it's looking good, but they might have let 1 or 2 rats slip by the poison, Tim, because Tyrant is lurking his way up towards main stairs here here around the lobby, he could be a big impact inside a meeting.
Dan was watching the Armory corridor. I don't know if that's still going to be the case or not. He may well have now started moving towards site. He has indeed. Joystick is going to find one of those two roaming players, though. Gets the kill onto Solotov, and that is a big start for Empire. But look at the clock, Des. There's only 20 seconds left. Nello just with a little bit of a weak challenge onto the door there, always able to take advantage. Finds the kill straight in. Starts getting the diffuser down. Will be successful. Here comes Tyrant. He gets one. He gets two. There's actually a team kill in there as well, and that's going to level things out. 3 versus 3. Still a lot of work for MNM to do.
Stealing that one away from Tyrant, else it would have been a 2K walking through. Yuzu's finding another, and the problem is you've got 2 big players left up here. Yuzu's and Tyrant, and Neo, of course, into a 3 versus 2. They've only got about 15 seconds to play with here, though, Tim, so they've got to be goddamn quick. Dan, still holding inside of Dining, always finds another. Oh, Yuzu's, you can't mess this one up, buddy. He finds one. He's now got to stick the defuse. They haven't really got the time. Always, what an angle to open up. Can't quite find the man. Does Yuzu stick it out? He can't find him. He's going to do it, Tim. MNM take map 1, 7 and 5. But my God, does it come close.
Oh, what a finish from Yuzus there. Pros don't fake, Des. Once you get on that diffuser, sometimes you just got to see it through. You can win by kills, but you can win by that objective as well. He knew that he had some